araw sa inyong lahat. Welcome to Project SOAR, a series of academic online review of CLAID Learning Modules. I am Miss Eva, a senior high school teacher and your moderator of the day from Mandaluyong High School, home of the expert. Batang MANDunong, kanina sinamahan ng mga grade 10 learners si Teacher Jervy. Ngayon naman, ating sasamahan ang isa sa mga math-husay na teacher ng grade 11. Bago ang pagpapakilala sa ating lecturer for the day, atin munang pakinggan ang mensahe mula sa ating napakasipag at mabait na math coordinator ng Mandaluyong High School, walang iba kundi si Mr. Marlon S. Custodio.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat, lalong-lalo na sa ngayon ng kagawaran ng ating school division. Dr. Romela M. Cruz, Sese, Assistant School Division Superintendent, Officer in Charge, Office of the School Division Superintendent, Dr. Aurelio G. Alfonso, Education Program Supervisor, Officer in Charge, Office of the Assistant Schools Division Superintendent, Dr. Aline G. Mendoza, Chief Education Supervisor, Curriculum Implementation Division, Mrs. Emma G. Arubio, Chief Education Supervisor, School Governance and Operations Divisions, si Restituto I. Rodelas, Education Program Supervisor of Mathematics. Salamat din po sa suporta ng aming ina ng Mandaluyong High School. Walang iba kundi si Dr. Ervin A. Salazar, Principal 4. Lubos akong nagpapasalamat sa mga kapwa ko guro sa Math Department ng Mandaluyong High School na walang pag-aatubili na tanggapin ang isang hamon. Sa aming moderator, Miss Eva D. Makadangdang, at sa mga gurong nagtuturo ngayon sa Project SOAR. Grade 7, walang iba kung hindi si Ma'am Aimeline C. Mariano. Grade 8, Ma'am Lobelin T. Dorado. Grade 9, Sir Willard T. Diaz. Grade 10, Ma'am Jerbily H. Nalual. Grade 11, Ma'am Rona Reyes. Halina't tangkilikin natin ang programang Project SOAR, manood, mag-aral, mag-subscribe at pindutin ang notification bell. Math-sayang Math-aral, tayo ng Math-tuto, diba?
Thank you for that message, sir. Ngayon naman ay ating kilalanin ang ating lecturer for week 8 of grade 11. She graduated her bachelor degree at Rizal Technological University and currently taking up her masteral degree at the National Teachers College. And now, she is currently a Teacher 1 at Mandaluyong High School. Batang MANDunong and home learning partners, atin nang samahan si Teacher RONA. Ma'am?
Maraming salamat po, Ma'am Eva, sa magandang introduction. Bago po ang lahat, ako po ay nagpapasalamat sa mga taong nagbigay po sa akin ng tiwala na maging bahagi nitong Project SOAR, series of online academic reviews, Mathematics CLAID Learning Modules. Sa aming Mathematics Education Supervisor, Mr. Restituto I. Rodelas, to our beloved Principal, Dr. Ervin A. Salazar, to our butihing Mathematics Coordinator, Mr. Marlon Custodio. Maraming salamat po. Good afternoon po sa inyong lahat, lalo na sa mga math teachers ng Mandaluyong High School at lalo na rin sa Batang MANDunong. Magandang hapon din po sa mga magulang ng ating Batang MANDunong at sa lahat ng teachers ng Mandaluyong. Ako nga po pala si Teacher RONA, ang inyong magiging teacher sa Advanced Lesson Week 8 ng General Mathematics 11. Handa na ba kayong matuto ngayon? Kung handa na, Tara, simulan na natin. Magandang araw, Batang MANDunong. Ako nga pala si Teacher RONA. Ngayon ay samahan niyo ako na matuto sa ating General Mathematics 11, Week 8 lesson. Pero bago ang lahat, siguraduhin munang kasama ang iyong notebook at ballpen. Handa na ba kayo? Kung handa na, tara, simulan na nating matuto. These are the objectives you need to learn after this lesson. Construct truth table. Determine the truth values of each operations on proposition. Define logically equivalent and the different forms of conditional propositions. And illustrates the different forms of conditional propositions. Bago tayo magsimula sa lesson, recap muna tayo sa napag-aralan noong week 7. Complete the table with the correct symbols. Ano kaya ang logical connectors kung ang logical operator ay ganito? I-comment ang iyong sagot sa comment box. Magaling! P and Q ang logical connectors. Ano naman ang logical operator kung ang logical connector ay P or Q? Magaling! Tama ang iyong sagot. Ano naman ang logical operator kung ang logical connector ay if P then Q? Magaling! Ano naman ang logical connectors kung ang logical operator ay ganito? Tama! P if only if Q. Now, to begin our lesson, let's think about these statements. Birds can fly high. Chicken is a bird. So, can the chicken fly high too? Do you agree on that? I-comment ang mga sagot in the comment box to see if you agree on these statements and tell me why. Alright, very good. Chicken can't fly high. So why? The first two statement is correct. However, the question asking is a false statement, right? So though chicken is a bird, but can't fly high. Very good. In this lesson, you will determine if the statements are true or false. With the propositional logic, it is a branch of mathematical logic that studies the truth and falsity of proposition. So any proposition can be represented by a truth table. So what is a truth table? Truth tables represent the relationship between the truth values of propositions and compound propositions formed from those propositions. Paano ba makagawa ng truth table? To construct truth tables, a proposition can involve any number of variables. When n variables, the truth table has n plus 1, 1 for each of the n variables, and 1 for the compound expression. 2 raised to n plus a header. Let's have an example. The first proposition P is 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. And the second proposition Q is 2 minus 1 is equal to 1. As you can see, we have two propositions here, the P and Q. So, n plus 1, let's substitute the n, which is 2 because we have two propositions. Then it becomes 2 plus 1 is equal to 3. That's why we have 3 column here. Next, 2 raised to n. We have the n as the proposition. So, 2 raised to 2 is 4. So, we have to put 4 rows in the table. So, diyan natin ilalagay ang mga truth values. Now, let's discuss each logical connectors to determine the truth values. In negation, given a proposition P, the statement not P is a proposition known as the negation of P. In symbols, not P is written as tilde P. The truth value for the negation of any proposition P is P as true and P as false. The first column contains the possible truth values of proposition P. Negation P as false and negation P as true. The second column reflects the truth value of negation P corresponding to the true value of P. Let's consider this example for negation. Let's have the proposition P states that 2 is a prime number. For the negation of proposition, we will make it a false statement. So negation P states that 2 is not a prime number. To make a truth value, we only have one variable of proposition, which is proposition P. So, n plus 1, it will become 1 plus 1 is equal to 2 because we only have one proposition. And then 2 raised to n, we have 2 raised to 1 is equal to 2. So that is for the rows of our table. So let's consider the P can be true or false. And the negation of P can be false or true. So how we will able to determine its true value? Pag-isipan natin ang proposition P. Is 2 a prime number? I-comment nyo nga ang mga sagot nyo sa comment box. Tama! 2 is a prime number. And how about the negation of P? It states that 2 is not a prime number. Tama ba yan na 2 is not a prime number? Siyempre hindi. Very good, Batang MANDunong. Ngayon, malalaman natin kung ano ang tama na proposition at ang mali na proposition. Sa truth value, anong truth values tumutugma ang ating mga sagot? Sabi nyo kanina, si P ay true at si negation P ay false. So, meaning, ano ang truth values niya? The proposition P is true and the negation P is false. Sige nga, tignan natin ang sunod na example. The proposition P states that 7 plus 2 is not equal to 9. So let's have the negation. The negation of P states that 7 plus 2 is equal to 9. So using the truth values for negation, Let's identify or determine first the proposition of P. Is the proposition of P tells true? Of course not. Very good. Is the negation of P telling the truth? Yes, very good. Because 7 plus 2 is equal to 9. So, in the truth table, ano sa tingin nyo ang tamang truth values ng ating example? Tama! Ang ating proposition P is false and ang ating negation P ay true. How about this last example for negation? Try nyo nga, mga batang mandunong. The proposition P states that 2 times 5 is equal to 10. And the negation of P states that 2 times 5 is not equal to 10. Can you tell me what is the truth values for this last example? Can you please comment your answer in the comment box? Okay, so may nakita ako. Sabi niya, ang proposition P ay true and the negation of P ay false. So, ito ang ating truth values. Okay, very good. Now, let's proceed to the next logical connectors. This is what we call the conjunction. When we say conjunction, the given propositions P and Q, the statement P and Q is a propositional known as the conjunction of P and Q. So in symbols, the proposition P and Q is written as P and Q. So whenever you see this symbol, it tells and. Okay, tandaan po yan. Kapag nakita ang itong symbol, ito po ay and. Truth value for conjunction P and Q is this. As you can see in the first row, P and Q are both true. So it is true. In the second row, P is true, but Q is false. Therefore, the conjunction is false. The P is false and the Q is true. Therefore, the conjunction or proposition is also false. And P is false and Q is false. Therefore, both of them are false. The first two columns contain all the possible combination of truth values of P and Q. The third column reflects that P and Q is only true when both P and Q are true. The proposition P states that 9 is a composite number, and proposition Q states that 3 is a factor of 9. So for the conjunction, P and Q states that 9 is a composite number and 3 is a factor of 9. As you can see, we use and to connect the two propositions. So for the truth values, we have two propositions here. So to make a truth value, n plus 1, it will become 2 plus 1 is equal to 3. So we will have 3 columns. And then for the rows, we have 2 raised to 2. We have 4. And these are the truth values for conjunction. Let's now determine the truth value of P and Q. Is 9 a composite number? Yes. Is a 3 a factor of 9? Yes, of course. So, in which true values satisfy the two propositions? Sabi nyo, 9 is a composite number, and it is true. And 3 is a factor of 9, and also a true. So, sa truth values, ano sa tingin nyo ang kanyang truth value? Okay, tama. Ang truth value niya ay they are both true. So, therefore, they are true. Let us try the second example for conjunction. The proposition P says that 7 is an irrational number, and proposition Q says that negative 1 over 7 is a rational number. So, the conjunction of P and Q is 7 is an irrational number, and negative 1 over 7 is a rational number. Let's determine its true values. Is 7 an irrational number? Paki-comment nga ang inyong mga sagot sa comment box. This is a false statement because we all know that 7 is a rational number, right? And how about the proposition Q? Sabi is negative 1 over 7 is a rational number. Do you agree on that? Yes, it is a rational number. Very good. So, if the proposition P is false and the proposition Q is true, so in which true values satisfy the two propositions? Very good. The proposition P is false. However, proposition Q is true. But then, the truth values is false. Okay? Very good, Batang MANDunong. Let us have this last example for conjunction. Proposition P says that 14 divided by 7 is equal to 3. And the proposition Q says that 1 times 5 is equal to 10. The conjunction of P and Q is 14 divided by 7 is equal to 3, and 1 times 5 is equal to 10. Now the question here is the proposition P telling the truth? Is it true? Agree ba kayo? Of course not. Mali ito. Bakit nga ba mali? Kasi 14 divided by 7 is equal to 2 at hindi equal to 3. So, ibig sabihin, si proposition P ay a false statement. Eh, yung 1 times 5 equal to 10. Is this true? And bakit sa tingin nyo? Paki-comment nga ang iyong sagot sa comment box. Ang galing naman ng mga batang mandunong. This is also a false statement. May nakita ako na sabi niya ay hindi 10 ang sagot. Ang tamang sagot ay 5. Very good naman. 1 times 5 is not equal to 10, but it should be equal to 5. So, kung mali ang dalawang proposition, alin sa truth values ang tumutugma? Yes, both proposition are false, so therefore the truth value are also false. Very good. Ngayon naman ay dumako naman tayo sa next logical connector. This junction, given propositions P and Q,
the statement P or Q is a proposition known as disjunction of P and Q. In symbols, the disjunction of P and Q is written as this. So if ever that you see this symbol, it indicates that it is disjunction. The truth table of disjunction of propositions P and Q, which is denoted by this symbol, is defined as P can be true or Q can be true. So therefore, they are both true. P can be true or Q can be false, but still, it's true. P can be false or Q can be true. So therefore, it is still true. P or Q can be false because they are both false. So in contrast with the conjunction of P and Q, kung sa conjunction ay magiging true lang kapag both proposition ay true. Dito naman sa disjunction, it will only be false when both propositions are false. And the rest of the combinations of truth values are true. Let's consider this example for disjunction. The proposition P says that 10 is a whole number. The proposition Q says that 10 is a product of 2 and 5. So for the disjunction, P or Q, it says that either 10 is a whole number or 10 is a product of 2 and 5. Let's use the truth table for disjunction and let's evaluate each proposition if it tells truth. Is 10 a whole number? Yes. Is 10 a product of 2 and 5? Yes. So as you can see, they are both correct and true. So therefore, the truth value is true. How about this second example? The proposition P says that 12 is divisible by 3. The proposition Q says that 4 is one of factors of 15. So for the disjunction of P and Q, either 12 is divisible by 3 or 4 is one of factors of 15. Let's evaluate each proposition. Is 12 divisible by 3? Yes, absolutely. Is 4 one of factors of 15? This is not true. Why do you think so? Because 4 is an even number. Diba, any number multiplied by an even number still will come up with an even number. Not like 15, which is an odd number. So, imposible po na mangyari na maging factor si 4 ni 15. So, kung true ang proposition P natin at false ang proposition Q, ano sa tingin nyo ang truth value nito? Tama! True pa rin ito dahil isa sa kanila ay tama, which is true. Okay? Tandaan na magiging false lang ito kung parehong proposition ay false. Let's consider this next example for disjunction. The proposition P says 1 is greater than 2. The proposition Q says that 7 is less than 6. So for the disjunction of P and Q, we have 1 is greater than 2 or 7 is less than 6. Now, are the two propositions true or are they both false? Tama po, they are both false. Bakit? Kasi we all know that 1 is not greater than 2. And also, 7 is not less than 6. So, anong meaning ng kanilang truth value? If P is a false and Q is a false, or the truth value is, yes, false po. So, false po ang truth value ng ating dalawang proposition. Magaling, mga batang mandunong! Ngayon ay nalaman na natin kung paano kunin ang truth value ng negation, conjunction, and disjunction. Ngayon ay dumako naman tayo sa conditional. So, conditional, given propositions P and Q, the statement if P then Q is a proposition known as conditional proposition. So, in these symbols, if P then Q is written as like this. So, kung may nakita kayo na isang arrowhead lang papunta kay Q, that is a conditional. Okay? The truth table of conditional of proposition P and Q is denoted by this. And it is defined through the truth table. If P and Q are both true, therefore the truth table is true. If P is true and Q is false, the truth table is false. If P is false and Q is true, then the truth table is true. If P and Q are both false, therefore they are true. Let us note that an implication conditional is always true except when P is true and Q is false. Let's have an example so that you will able to understand more how this conditional of proposition works. Let's have here the example for conditional. The proposition P says 8 plus 9 is equal to 17. The proposition Q says 28 minus 11 is equal to 17. So for the conditional proposition, we have if 8 plus 9 is equal to 17, then 28 minus 11 is equal to 17. Is the proposition P true? Is the proposition Q is true? Yes, very good. They are both true. So if the two propositions are true, then the truth value is true. Let us consider this next example. The proposition P says 3 can be the value of x. The proposition P says 9 is the only value for x. So, for the conditional P and Q, we have if 3 can be the value of x, then 9 is the only value for x. Can be 3 the value of x? Yes, because any number can be the value of x because it is a variable that can be changed. Is 9 the only value for x? 9 can be a value of x but not the only value for x. Hindi lang naman si 9 ang pwedeng maging or the only value for x. Diba? So therefore, if P is true and Q is false, their truth value is false. Okay naman, batang mandunong. Let's have here the last example for conditional. If the proposition P says that 5 plus 3 is equal to 10, for the proposition Q, 10 is an odd number. So for the conditional, if 5 plus 3 is equal to 8, then 10 is an odd number. Can you determine which proposition is true and which proposition is false? Okay, very good. They are both false. So in the truth table, what would be the truth value? If your P and Q are both false, therefore, the truth value is true. Very good. Let us now discuss the last logical connector, which is the biconditional. Given propositions P and Q, the statement P, if and only if, is a proposition known as biconditional propositions, and in symbols, P, if and only if, Q is written as like this. So kung sa conditional, isang arrowhead lang papunta kay Q, dito sa biconditional is dalawa na yung arrowhead sa P and Q. A proposition of biconditional is only true when P and Q have the same truth value. As you can see here, the only truth value that have the same is yung first row and yung last row. As you can see, sa first row, dalawang true. So, true si P at true si Q. So, therefore, true sila. And then, doon sa last na row is parehas silang false. So, therefore, they are true. Okay, so let's have here the example for the biconditional propositions. The proposition P says triangle is a shape. The proposition Q says the triangle has 3 sides. So for the biconditional, we have triangle is a shape if and only if triangle has 3 sides. Let's consider first the proposition P. Is triangle a shape? Of course, triangle is a shape. How about for the proposition Q? The triangle has 3 sides. Is this correct? Of course, triangle has 3 sides. So, if P and Q are both true, which of the truth table indicates its true value? Yes, P and Q are true, so therefore, they are both true. Now that we are done with logical connectors and its true value, let us now discuss about logical equivalence. Two propositions P and Q are logically equivalent, denoted by these symbols, if they have the same truth values for all possible truth values of their simple components. There are 10 logical equivalents. Let P, Q, and R be the propositions. The basic established logical equivalence is indicated below. Identity law. This says that the proposition P and true is equivalent to the proposition P. Let us look in the truth table. As you can see, the proposition P is the same as the proposition P and true. Let's have the proposition P or false. It says that proposition P or false is equivalent to the proposition P. Sa nakikita natin, parehas ang truth value ng proposition P at yung proposition P or false. In the domination law, the proposition P or true is equivalent to true. Let's see in the truth table. You can see it proves that the proposition P or true is equivalent to true. How about if P and false is equivalent to false? Let us see in the truth table. As you can see, they are the same. Idempotent law. The idempotent law says that the proposition P and the proposition P is equal to the proposition of P. Let us see in the truth table. They are the same. How about if the proposition P or the proposition P is equal to P. Let us see in the truth table. They have the same truth value. Now, let's proceed to the double negation. For the double negation, we have the negation and the quantity of negation P is equal to P. Let's see. Okay, parehas po sila ng truth value. In the commutative law, P or Q is equivalent to Q or P. Let us see in the truth table if they have the same truth values. So, parehas po sila ng truth values. Let us have the second example. P and Q is equivalent to Q and P. Tingnan nga natin sa truth value. Tama. Parehas sila ng truth values. The associative law, we have here the quantity of P and Q and R is equivalent to P and the quantity of Q and R. Tignan nga natin sa truth table kung parehas ba sila ng truth values. As you can see, parehas po sila ng truth values. For the distributive law, we have P or the quantity of Q and R is equivalent to the quantity of P or Q and P or R. Tignan nga natin kung parehas sila ng truth values. Yes, they are equivalent. For the De Morgan's law, we have the negation of the quantity of P and Q is equivalent daw sa negative P or negative Q. Tignan nga natin kung equivalent ba talaga sila. Okay, so sa nakikita natin in the truth table, they have the same truth values. Now, let's proceed to the second example. The negation of the quantity of P or Q is equivalent to negation of P and negation of Q. Let's see if they have the same truth values. Okay, so parehas din po sila or equivalent po ang kanilang truth values. For the absorption law, it says that the P or the quantity of P and Q is equivalent to P. Tignan nga natin kung talagang equivalent to P siya. As you can see in the truth table, the truth values for P and for the P or the quantity of P and Q has the same truth values. How about itong second example? P and the quantity of P or Q is equivalent daw sa P. Tignan nga natin sa truth value. Yes, as you can see, parehas po sila ng truth values. Given propositions P and Q, there are three propositions that we can derive from the conditional if P then Q. Namely, it's first is the converse. The converse of a proposition if P then Q is the proposition if Q then P. This means that the converse of a conditional proposition is formed by switching the hypothesis and the conclusion. Let's have the example. If the angle is right, then its measure is 90 degrees. For the converse, if the angle measures 90 degrees, then the angle is right. As you can see, nagpalit lang po yung proposition P and proposition Q. For the inverse of a proposition if P then Q is the proposition if negation P then negation Q. To get the inverse of a conditional statement, take the negation of both hypothesis and conclusion. Example, if the angle is right, then its measure is 90 degrees. For the inverse, if the angle is not right, then its measure is not 90 degrees. So we put not, or we make the statements false. The contrapositive of proposition if P then Q is the proposition if negation Q then negation P. This can be viewed as the inverse of the converse or the converse of the inverse of a conditional proposition. Let's have an example. If the angle is right, then its measure is 90 degrees. So the contrapositive is if the measure of the angle is not 90 degrees, then it is not right. So, pinagpalit po muna natin si proposition P and Q. And at the same time, nilagyan natin ng negation ang bawat proposition. Ganyan po ang contrapositive. Mga batang mandunong, did you learn anything from the lesson we had today? Kung meron man, it is glad to know that you learned from here. Pero bago natin tapusin ang lesson na ito, let's summarize the lesson. The propositional logic is a branch of mathematical logic that studies the truth and falsity of proposition. The truth tables represent the relationship between the truth values of propositions and compound propositions formed from those propositions. Negation, P, reflects the truth value of P. Conjunction is the only true when both P and Q are true. Disjunction will only be false when both propositions are false. Conditional is always true except when P is true and Q is false. Biconditional is only true when P and Q have the same truth value. And we have 10 logical equivalents: the identity law, domination law, idempotent law, the double negation, commutative law, associative law, distributive law, De Morgan's law, and absorption law. And also, there are 3 propositions that we can derive from the conditional if P then Q. We have the converse, the inverse, and the contrapositive. At dito na nagtatapos ang ating aralin. Maraming salamat, Batang Mandunong. Muli, ako si Teacher Rona na nagsasabing, logic is the beginning of wisdom, not the end. Hanggang sa muli, paalam!